This is for ELA 5th grade for June 1st through 5th, 2020, Week 9, Lesson 2 of the Remote Learning. This is a narrated or voiceover PowerPoint. If you're watching it as an MP4 file or YouTube video, please press pause as needed. Created by Ms. Stallings. We're going to read a text today titled The Story of the Three Musketeers. It is the paired reading inside of Marjory Stoneman Douglas, which we read in Lesson 1. We read Chapter 1 of it. Let's read our objective. I can compare and contrast the structure of two texts by analyzing how the author has organized the ideas so that I can understand how specific text structures support the understanding of different types of expository text. Our vocabulary. Compare means consider the similarities between the two things. Contrast, consider the differences between the two things. Text structure is the way a text is organized. An expository text is a text that explains a topic. That would be nonfiction texts. Our essential question, what impact do our actions have on our world? Your think about it can be done on paper or in your packet or submitted directly onto Schoology. How can humans positively impact our world? How can humans negatively impact our world? This is definitely a big topic right now during our coronavirus learning. So you could think about what things can we do to positively impact our world during the coronavirus? What things have people done that have negatively impacted us? You could also think about just nature and, even simple things like picking up or throwing away trash. All right, our learn about it. Review. What is text structure? Text structure is the organizational pattern an author uses to develop a text. Examples of text structure could be sequence or chronological, description, cause and effect, compare and contrast, question and answer, problem and solution. Signal words can help readers identify the structure of a text as well as the important relationships between the ideas in the text. Understanding the structure of a text helps the reader better understand what the text is all about. So here again are just some ways that you can look for your description, problem and solution, compare and contrast, cause and effect, and sequence. And you can see that there are different signal words and things that you could look at to help you determine, or tips of things that you could ask yourself if you're not quite sure which text structure it is. Chronological text structure, or sequence. A biography, like Marjory Stoneman Douglas, A Guardian of the Everglades, is organized in chronological order. This means that the author tells the story of a person's life in order from childhood to adulthood. Signal words in a chronological text, like a biography, could include section titles named after their life stages, such as Chapter 1, Early Life, specific dates, such as on April 7th, 1890, or in 1908, phrases that describe general periods of life, such as most of her childhood or after graduating. Remember, you could also think about asking yourself, is this event taking place over time? Look for those references to time, such as dates. You also could look for signal words like first, second, third, then next, before, after, finally, and following, especially if it's not the entire person's life, if it's just a section. Problem and solution text structure. The text, The Story of the Three Musketeers, is written using problem and solution text structure. It shares the story of how Tara helped save the environment, which was the problem, by planting trees with her scout troop, which was the solution. So you can see there was a drought in California. That was the problem. Their solution, they would save water because those plates would need to be washed. And they would also save trees. And if they decided to plant more trees, then that would help the environment as well. So you can ask yourself, what is the problem and what is the solution? Look for the problem first and then the solution. It's usually problem first because they want to tell you what they did in order to solve the problem. Read the story of the Three Musketeers. While reading, monitor your thinking by asking, what is the problem and what are the solutions? Underline or highlight the steps Tara's scout troop and today's Three Musketeers take to help save the environment. You might not be able to underline or highlight, but you might be able to write down your answers on a piece of paper, take notes on another source. I'll go over the show what you know now as well as at the end. Again, paper or packet or directly on Schoology. In Marjory Stoneman Douglas, Guardian of the Everglades, and The Story of the Three Musketeers, both authors wrote about how people work to save the environment. Compare and contrast the different text structures the authors used. Which do you think was more effective in supporting their purpose for writing? Use evidence from both texts in your response. All right, again, we're looking at Marjory Stoneman Douglas as our text, but we're looking at the paired read, The Story of the Three Musketeers. This can be found in your McGraw-Hill if you simply just want to listen to the story without it being on the PowerPoint. The Story of the Three Musketeers. In 1987, there was a drought in California. Tara Church was 8 years old at the time, and her scout troop was planning a camping trip. Tara's mom gave the girls a choice of plates, paper or tin. If they used paper plates, they would save water because those plates wouldn't need to be washed. However, paper comes from trees. If they used tin plates, they would save trees. The girls debated which plates to use, and they decided they wanted to plant more trees. So tin camping plates save trees. Campers can also reduce waste by reusing utensils such as this foldable one with both a fork and a spoon. So remember, they had a problem. They couldn't decide which plates to use, paper or tin, and then they came up with a solution. They wanted to plant more trees, so they would use the paper plates, but then maybe plant more trees later. Trees are an important resource. Tree roots help prevent soil from being washed away. Trees produce oxygen and help clean the air. They also provide food and shelter for other living things. The leaves provide shade, which reduces temperatures, so people don't have to use as much air conditioning. This is especially important in cities. Tara and her friends got permission to plant their first tree on public property on Imperial Avenue in El Segundo, California. They named it Marcy the Marvelous Tree. After the children planted the tree, they sat around the trunk and talked about what to do next. They planted more trees and persuaded other scout groups to do the same. So remember, the problem was there wasn't a lot of trees. They wanted to save them and protect them. So part of the solution was planting more trees. Now another solution is getting other scout groups to do the same. They called their group the Three Musketeers after the heroes in the book, The Three Musketeers. Their organization grew. People liked the group because it was run by children. Kids taught other kids what they could do to help the environment. Kids learned how to plant trees, how to take care of them, and how to get more kids involved. In 1988, the Three Musketeers traveled to Washington, D.C. to receive an Environmental Youth Award. The work of the Three Musketeers was ready to export internationally. That means go throughout the whole world. The group began to exchange ideas with chapters all over the world. In this case, chapters would mean different scout troops. Today, Tara and her friends are too old to be regular members of the Three Musketeers. However, thanks to their efforts, there are many more kids working to help the environment. The group operates projects such as 1 in a Million, Tree Planting Program, and Partners for the Planet, which encourages kids all around the world to help the environment. Trees are being planted in countries such as Kenya and Romania and all over the United States. Marcy the Marvelous Tree is now more than 50 feet tall. It is still helping to cool the city, clean the air, and inspire a whole new generation of kids to make a difference. Planting trees is the easiest way for kids to help the environment in their community. All right, so back to our Show What You Know. Remember, this can be done paper or packet or directly onto Schoology in the Show What You Know section. In Marjory Stoneman Douglas, Guardian of the Everglades, and The Story of the Three Musketeers, both authors wrote about how people work to save the environment. Compare and contrast the different text structures the authors used. Which do you think was more effective in supporting their purpose for writing? Use evidence from both texts in your response. Okay, so remember, they both wrote about how people work to save the environment. You're going to compare, tell what things are similar, contrast, say what things are different about the text structure. Remember, Marjory Stoneman Douglas was written in sequential order. It was written in chronological order of her life. And then the story we've just read of the Three Musketeers was problem and solution. They talked about the problem, wanting to save the environment, plant more trees, and then also their solution, which was to plant more trees as a scout group, and then also to then get other scouts involved. So you're going to compare and contrast their text structure. That would be this part, sequence versus problem and solution. Then you're going to decide, which do you think was more effective in supporting their purpose for writing? So if the purpose of the writing was about how people work to save the environment, which one do you think did a more effective job of that? But use evidence from both texts to support why one was better than the other. Some compare and contrast words are right here. And you can also talk about some signal words for sequencing and problem and solutions. Make sure you submit your work to your teachers on Schoology, and I hope you found this helpful. Remember, you can go back to Lesson 1 to listen to Marjory Stoneman Douglas, Guardian of the Everglades, Chapter 1, and you can also re-listen to the story of the Three Musketeers on Lesson 2. You can also go to McGraw-Hill and listen to the stories directly without my narration. Right? I hope to see you guys for the next one.